I got bothersome news, guys. So I came in here, coming to the studio, and the team's got everything ready. Each one of our flat screens is a different Usyk Fury. One of them's playing the original fight. One of them's playing the last round of the original fight. On one of the flat screens, we're going to the decision, and the other one is showing these guys training. So I come in the spirit, and I tell the team, guys, I got it. It's official prediction day. I got to catch my words. I have to catch my words because Tyson Fury was going to be my official prediction. Tyson Fury, when two guys go into a fight, they know who's going to win. Now, that is not an absolute, but that is 99.9. Right? It's enough of a statement. It's one of the secrets of the sport. Both guys will come out to press conferences and act. You'll meet guys that hate to do press conferences. So I'm gonna do my talking in the ring. Those are guys that don't like to act. They don't want to go to a press conference and say, I'm scared to death. They think that doesn't work, or they think that that shows a weakness. Or they don't want to go in there and say, man, I wish I got 2 more fights before this, or I wish I had 1 more year. I wish this was 1 year ago, or whatever it is that they see as the deficit. It's one of the reasons they despise doing press conferences. Both athletes go into competition knowing who is going to win. Contrary, 100% of athletes will come and speak to a group of kids and say, you must always be confident. You must always believe in yourself. Or after the big game that ended up they had more points on the scoreboard when time ran out. That's when they really love to rework it. Almost like a lying businessman that wrote a business book. They basically say the same thing. I knew when no one else believed in me. I just knew if I could keep my foot on the outside of his left, I could pivot to the hook and pummel to the straight. I noticed this in an old training footage I'd seen of him from 1994. Like they just retell the story. But the truth is they both know who's going to win when they go in there. So one of the reasons I am so good at telling you boxing fights isn't just because boxing makes them very lopsided. Boxing has actually done a lot better job of that in the last 24 months than any other time, of putting 2 guys in that competitively, where they can both win. I can beat you, but you can beat me too. And I just want to share with you one of the things that I will go through, much closer than I will their record or their common opponents, or their height or their reach, or their kilos or their stones, is I will watch them at a press conference, and I will watch for who I believe is telling the truth. They're both going to say they're going to win. But they both feel the same person's going to win. You would just never say it when it's against yourself. You would go out there and try. You would have grit. Having confidence and being delusional are 2 equally important ingredients to success. There are times when everybody told me I couldn't do it. Well, they all know you, and some of them are related to you, and they know your dark sides, and they know about your work ethic and your intellect. Like, if they're saying you're going to fail, you probably are. That's probably a pretty good group to listen to. So when I watch these 2 guys, I want to know who's going to flinch. And the first one to go was Tyson Fury. And it was from a point of strength. So I'm going to take you back 5 minutes after they wrapped up the first one. After they announced Usyk. And I always think Usyk's joking when he talks. I always thought I thought he was working like a character. That voice is so odd to be coming out of his body. I believe that it trumps Mike Tyson to have that voice coming out of that body. I believe Usyk's deep voice is more unhumanly than Mike Tyson's deep voice. But when that gets done, they come to Fury. Now, Fury fought Francis Ngannou, and Fury, like all boxers, wildly lied about how much money he made. But he still made $40+ million. I know he'd like to tell you guys 80 and 90, but he still made real money. For Fury to go into Usyk, he lied to you about how much money he made. But he still made $35 to $50 million. So for Fury, 5 minutes after that loss, to first off, he already knew what he blamed it on, which was sentiment in the judges who are human beings, because the opponent in question is from a country who is at war. He took a lot of flack for that, and I don't think that he should have. That was a very fair, he didn't say he got robbed. He didn't say it was stolen from him. He said it was a close fight. He said it was a good fight. He just said he knew if it went to a decision, with that man's country being at war, favoritism would have gone to him. People thought that was off limits. I did not. I did not. Because I want to know, if you're going to ask for a rematch, what is going to be different? So if you think the only thing that caused you was sentiment, you're doing a pretty good job of admitting the truth, which is that dude Usyk can take a hell of a better punch than I thought he could. That dude Usyk can hold up longer, harder than I thought he could. That dude Usyk can deliver to the body and to the head in a more effective fashion than 12 rounds ago I knew he could. And if you're going to go into a rematch, you're going to have any chance to beat a guy. You cannot be hanging it on delusion. You've got to really grasp. So Fury right there, busting up, broken up, heartbroken family, heartbroken audience. He's the face of this movement that's going on in Riyadh. I mean, there was so much on that he lost. And in those very painful and exhaustive moments, he referred to a clause within his contract that should he choose to execute, he is the sole person to make the choice, and that was an immediate rematch clause. You won't meet 10 boxers who have read a contract. That is not an exaggeration. You will not meet 10 fighters who have ever fought with an immediate rematch clause in their contract, and you won't meet any fighters that know how to activate said clause. If you really do narrow down and you find out Chael there quite literally was somebody, it's one of the reasons that boxing can do whatever it wants. It's one of the reasons. They say that the contracts take advantage of the fighters. That's not as true as you might think. The leadership in boxing just knows the fighters are dum-dums. You ever see the guy and somebody knocks on his door and they're going to try to bring him into a religion? And they'll have the Bible. The guy doesn't know much about religion, but son of a bitch, he knows the Bible. That's a good book. His whole life he's been told that's a good book. And then they'll open the Bible. And with no context of the 1,000 words and stories and paragraphs that came before, or with any context of the 1,000 words and stories that come after it, they will show you 2 sentences. Do you ever know this? Well, it's right here, and this is the Bible. You can't dispute it. You don't know enough about the Bible. You don't know. He opened the good book, which you've been told your whole life is good, and he just showed you 2 lines. Now he's going to quickly close the book. You're never going to reference it again. And he's going to tell you what the rest of your life is going to look like, which always comes with you writing a check and somebody being given the ability to sleep with your young daughter, whether that happens or not, all because they pulled out a Bible. And boxing contracts are very similar, where these guys have them and they're told that they're binding by people they trust. And then they're told, well, we misunderstood that, or they don't have to do this, or if we try for that, we can't get this. That is where the taking advantage part comes from. So when you have somebody like Fury, who in the heat of battle, in despair, he's busted up, man, he's broken up, not to mention this is 2 in a row. He went the distance with a bum who'd never even done it before called Francis. A split decision where one licensed judge thought that Fury lost to a bum who had never done it before. This is not good for the legacy and even current career of Tyson Fury. He's got 2 strikes. Anything in life, 3 and you're out, and he chooses to execute number 3 in that moment, and he knew he had the legal right, because he knew what that contract said, and he will hold up Usyk and the WBA and everybody else if they don't give it to him. I loved it. I loved in this moment. Now, we'll see many guys. Guys used to do this, George St. Pierre. Some 70-pounder would win a fight. What's next for you? What's next for me is George St. Pierre. And the guy would get in the back and his adrenaline would calm down. And then he'd grab the matchmakers and go, anybody but George. It was a very common thing. No reasonable person wanted to fight George St. Pierre. You fought George when your phone rang, and you had to fight George, and then you enjoyed the money and the few minutes of fame. That's just the truth. Fury went out of his way to fight a guy who had just beaten him, who had won the Olympics. At a different weight class, the hardest guy to face is a stud from one weight class below you. Fury went out of his way from a legal perspective to be given the right in front of everybody else. So when I talk about all I'm trying to do is judge two guys, you will get a lot more accurate analysis from me than you will a boxing guy with an 8th grade education in his gold teeth that's going to tell you about the jab. You control everything. You control everything with the jab. You jab, and then you hit him in the body. You just make sure he's standing on the outside. Don't let him get too close. You got to stay him on the outside. You control with the jab, and you hit him in the body. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Everybody has 2 hands, and they're trying to hit him in the head, and they're trying to hit him in the body, because it's the only 2 legal places you can hit them. But that is what this is going to come down to, and I will stand on it. Who wants it more? Do you want to know why Usyk beat Fury? Usyk wanted it more. Now, we would only have to guess why. Is he that kind of a competitor? Is he that gritty, dirty, just like he was back in the Olympic Games when he was getting no money and just trying to bring honor to his country? He's wearing the headgear, so not only is he getting no money, he wasn't even getting any fame. Nobody could recognize him. And then when he talked, we all thought it was a joke. We thought it was a joke! Is he still that dirty, hungry son of a bitch? Or was his country being attacked? Was he trying to bring honor? He had the president of the country supporting him. Was it something larger? Guys do compete outside of their abilities, and it's very hard to isolate what it was. Buster Douglas was not very good at boxing, but he belongs in the Hall of Fame, and he was the world champion, because there was a night when he could beat any man alive. As a matter of fact, he did just that. Night he knocked out Mike Tyson. But they asked Buster how and why, and there was nothing he could turn to. He wasn't eating different. He didn't start taking steroids, right? Anytime a guy tells you he's eating different, that means I started taking steroids, which is very effective, by the way. New training camp, new team, new system. There was none of those things that Buster could turn to. And Buster said, actually, he'd lost his mom. And he had never dedicated a fight to his mom before. And he had said a prayer. Said, Mom, this heaven thing is real and you're with me. I don't need you to give me power. I'm going to do this for you. He said, and that was the thing. But it also openly was the reason Buster Douglas could not duplicate that performance. Openly. I had a one-time belief in power. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't think you have to believe in a supernatural to understand that sometimes a guy can get motivation, and that motivation is once. So the big question that I do have is, why did Usyk want it so bad? What made him so hungry? Because he had to walk through fire to win that fight. Where did that energy come from that Usyk had? And moreover, how, when Fury got on his rolls, did Usyk stay standing? What was that motivation? I don't know. But I know Fury doesn't think he can duplicate it twice. And I know Fury feels that he also has a secret. Somewhere he did not prepare the way he could have prepared. Knowing what he knows now, I think you guys would buy into that. I think that Fury versus Francis is the most incredible sporting event I have ever witnessed. It defies logic and reason and everything about pugilism. But Fury came right back off of that against a guy that had never won and went on to still have never won, and went tooth and nail with one of the great boxers ever. And learned something to say, put me in again. The Fury that Francis fought was not the Fury that Usyk fought. Fury took some things for granted, but he fixed them. He believes he can fix them again. But guys, it's not mental. That's another one of the scams that they tell you. No teacher or coach or anybody is going to tell you, if you want to be an NCAA champion, that it comes down to DNA. We could probably go and take you onto one of Bob Forrester's machines right now, check your VO2 max, which is scientific and proven, and disqualify you from many championships right out of the gate. We don't tell you that it's about DNA. We let you believe that it's physical, and it's the best way to deal with kids. There's a reason we as coaches do that. But it's not mental. And while you might get a drive or you might get a spark or a bite in your ass every now and again, there is nothing within the rule book that is mental, that is emotional, that is spiritual, that is mind over matter, that is toughness. Nothing. It's a 10-9 must system. The judges will never come up to you in between rounds and say, how are you feeling? You look confident. Are you confident? You look happy. Are you happy? You look spiritually sound. Are you spiritually sound? Did you do training camp in isolation? Did you sacrifice? There's no point within the sport where any of that matters. It's 100% physical. I touch you, you don't touch me. That's the game. Now, we're both really good at this. So I'm going to be touching you and you're going to be touching me back. Where did you touch me? How many times? What was the power? All physical. So if Fury believed that Fury had a secret enough that he wanted an immediate rematch, he wanted to execute that clause, he was willing to take the organization to court to demand that they see a contract through. And we know the truth, guys, which is you can get a little bump motivationally and energetically. Some of those things do happen. That energy is very real. It's hard to know when it's going to come, but it is real. We know to beat a man in combat, it's physical. And if you already tried once and you failed, you're going to have to try and you're going to have to try harder. Can we agree? Because this son of a bitch just weighed in 17 pounds bigger than he was in the last fight. 19 pounds bigger. Thank you, voice of God. 19 pounds bigger. He claims that he ran every morning, 5 a.m. He actually gave us the time. He claims that he sparred 12 rounds a day with fresh partners. That did not include the sit-ups, the jump rope, the shadow box, the speed bag, the double in bag, the chin-up bar. Could you do that? Could you do that, guys? Could you get up every day at 5 a.m. and run? Could you spar 12 fresh men in a row? As the hard part of training, not the warm-up, cool-down, or technique part. You got a couple of hours around you, but you're going to do 30, say you're sparring with these new guys, and they're rotating, and you're moving your feet at all times. Could you do that running every day, 2 hours of the most intense training in the world? Could you do that a day and still eat enough calories to gain 19 pounds? Could you do it? Do you remember when Michael Phelps was swimming and for some reason NBC just comes out with this whopper of a story? Do you guys remember Phelps? He was this nerdy looking dude, but he brought a lot of honor to this country and it turned out to be a drug addict. But do you guys remember this? And they would want to tell you because he was so bad at storytelling and because pulling your body through the water is so mind-numbingly dull, NBC comes up with a story that Michael Phelps has to eat 13,000 calories a day. He must. They follow him to breakfast, as a matter of fact. And it's a joke, man. He's got a short stack, and he's got a short stack with blueberries, and he's got English muffins with eggs on top of it. He's got English muffins with avocado and salmon underneath it. And he's got this big thing of peanut butter. He would swim laps, and he would pop up and put a whole Snickers in his mouth as he would turn and swim to the other side where a guy was waiting for the down there, slam another Snickers in his mouth. It was such a whopper of a lie. Do you know how much 13,000 calories is? Do you have any idea the massive amount of foods this was? It was such a whopper of a lie that when they finally got a hold of Phelps after the Olympics, they didn't even ask him about the 21 gold medals. They asked him, hey, do you really eat 13,000 calories a day? And he laughed hysterically. He laughed hysterically and said, no, there's not even 13,000 calories in my refrigerator, which is a normal answer. So I want to know now. You go into isolation training. Isolation is very tough. For some people, it can be good. But everybody out there that wants to kick a habit, that's hooked on booze, that's hooked on gambling, that's got a drug secret, all of them, when they go to get help, will be told, don't do it alone. Find somebody that will make you accountable. So we find out that Fury goes into training alone. Pretty hard to answer that bell at 5 a.m. when you made $100 million in the last year. Pretty hard to do. Now, if you want it, sure. Wanting to be a champion that you already were, that's hard. There's some special guys out there, and they do. I'm just sharing, he's now got two things against him. No accountability and a deep desire to have something that he already had. So all of a sudden, we get to the scale. Worked harder than ever. Learned from the first fight. Guys, I remember being 11 years old and Iron Mike Tyson did a training camp in Hawaii. I didn't get what the big deal was. Mike Tyson was the baddest dude in the world. That's all I knew. My father's trying to explain to me. I'd never been to Hawaii. I'd never been out of Westland, Oregon. My father's trying to explain to me this is a destination where people, they vacation there. People get married and they will go there because it's so fun, it's so nice, it's so beautiful. I didn't understand the point. I didn't understand my dad's point. And my dad he got no chance. I want to say it was even against Lennox Lewis, which was a tough fight anyway. But whoever it was, my dad, he got no chance. He didn't lock himself down in Bed-Stuy, where it's do or die. He didn't go out to Kronk Gym. He went to Hawaii. They don't even have a boxing gym in Hawaii. He set up a camp in Hawaii. My father's trying to explain this to 11-year-old Chael, and they got to the weigh-in. And anyone that knows anything about fight knows that Mike Tyson, in his prime, Mike Tyson weighs 220 pounds. He does not wear socks, and he does not put on a robe. You know anything about Mike Tyson, you know that. And he got on the scale at 240 pounds. Flabby. I looked at my father. My father said, son, he tried to train in Hawaii. Tyson Fury tried to have accountability alone. He tried to get better at something by working harder than he ever had. But he didn't let any witnesses come in to back up whether that happened or not. In the exact same way as that line jumped, it jumped. It was 2-1. There was a meaningful discussion amongst society of who would win between Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. They got on that scale, and that line jumped within the 24 hours until fight time because Mike Tyson weighed in 20 pounds heavier than he previously had. Tyson Fury is 20 pounds heavier, 19 to be exact, than he previously was in an athletic competition based around cardio, durability, and endurance. Your weight is a direct reflection of how hard you worked in a period of time. Calories out through energy, calories in through stagnant, unenergetic things. You can't train, guys, and gain weight. They don't go hand in hand. You want me to give you a prediction? I don't feel as I need to. The same as when we found out Mike was in Hawaii at a made-up boxing gym. The same as we found out, and my father looked at me. I was 11 years old. When he weighed in at 240 pounds to take on Lennox Lewis, and the line jumped. This fight has been decided. One guy really wanted to win this fight. And I think both guys are really willing to go out there and want to win it. But the will to win is nothing without the will to prepare, and the preparation is done. And it's 20 pounds of blubber against Tyson Fury.